I woke up before the alarm today. The room was still dark, the kind of dark that feels quiet, not scary. I sat on the edge of my bed and rested my feet on the floor. For a moment, I did not move, because lately I have been unsure where my steps are going. I am not lost in a loud way. I am lost quietly, with questions I do not speak out loud. I whispered softly, but Lord, guide my footsteps. Not because I was weak, but because I was tired of guessing. Some mornings the weight is not heavy, gentle, but constant, like carrying a bag you forgot you were holding. I have made choices in life, but some good, some I still think about. I do not regret everything, but there are paths I wish I had walked differently. That is why this morning feels important. Because today, before I step into the world, I want God to step into me. I am at a stage in life where noise does not excite me anymore. Speed does not impress me. And rushing only confuses me. I have responsibilities, people who depend on me, and expectations I try to meet. From the outside, my life looks steady, but inside, my heart asks questions. Am I walking in the right direction? Am I forcing doors that were never meant to open? Am I listening, or just moving? I sit at my small kitchen table, a cup of warm tea in my hands. The window is slightly open. Morning air enters quietly. This is where I pray best. Not in big words, but in honest ones. Lord, I say gently, I do not want to walk ahead of you. I remember times I rushed decisions, times I trusted my own understanding, times I ignored the quiet warning inside my heart. And I paid for it. Not with anger, but with confusion. That is why today feels different. There were seasons when I walked confidently, only to realize later, I was walking alone. I took steps because others expected me to, because it looked right, because it felt safe. But safe does not always mean right. I remember a moment clearly. Standing at a door, I chose myself. Opening it without prayer, it looked fine at first. But peace never followed me inside. Slowly, small signs appeared. Restless nights. Uneasy mornings. God was still there, but I was not listening. That is how life works sometimes. Nothing breaks suddenly. It fades quietly. And now, here I am. Not broken. Just careful. That is why I pray this morning. I bow my head slightly, not out of fear, but respect. Lord, I say, I need your guidance. Not once, not sometimes, but daily, guide my footsteps when I am unsure. Guide me when the road splits, guide me when my heart wants one thing, and wisdom points another way. I am done pretending I know best. I want to walk slower, I want to walk wisely. I want to walk with you. As I sit there praying, something shifts inside me. Not excitement, not answers, but peace. I realize I do not need the whole map. I only need the next step. God does not rush, He guides, and that is enough. So this morning, I stand up slowly. I take my first step of the day, not with fear, not with pressure, but with trust. Lord, I whisper one last time, guide my footsteps, and I walk forward, one peaceful step at a time. Amen. As the morning light slowly fills the kitchen, I stay seated a little longer. The cup in my hands is still warm. Steam rises softly, then disappears. It reminds me how quickly moments pass. My life has not been loud. It has not been dramatic, but it has been full of responsibilities, full of silent expectations, full of days where I did what needed to be done. I have walked many paths already, some chosen by love, some chosen by fear, some chosen because I thought there was no other way. I think about my family, about the people connected to my steps. There were years when my footsteps were steady, and years when they felt unsure. I remember waking up early for others, working late for others, making sacrifices that were never noticed. I do not say this with bitterness, only honesty, because when you give quietly for a long time, your heart eventually asks, where am I walking to? I love my family deeply. I always have. I try to be present, br to be dependable, br to be strong. But strength does not mean certainty. There were moments at the family table bar when laughter filled the room, yet my mind felt far away. I would smile, I would listen. But inside I wondered if I was living the life meant for Meba, or simply following the path that felt safest. At night, when the house was quiet, but these thoughts became louder, br. Not painful, br, just persistent. That is when I realized I needed guidance, not answers. Looking back now, I see how gently God tried to guide me before. A feeling that something was not right, a delay that protected me, a closed door that saved me from regret. But I was busy moving, br, busy deciding. I told myself I would pray later. I told myself I knew what I was doing, br. And God waited, br, patiently. He always does. This morning feels different, because I am no longer asking God, to bless my plans. I'm asking Him, to shape my steps. Lord, I whisper again, but I do not want to walk alone anymore. I want your wisdom, before I speak, before I choose, before I commit. But I am tired of guessing, dbr, tired of correcting mistakes later. I want to walk in peace, even if the road is slower. It's slower as I sit there, but I realize something gently. God has always been guiding me, but I just was not always listening. He guided me through protection, br, through silence, through waiting, br. And now, He is guiding me back to stillness. The day has not started yet, br, but something inside me has a softer awareness, a quieter heart, a willingness to be led. I stand up slowly, not rushing, because today I am not walking ahead of God. I am walking with Him. There were times when I felt confident about my steps. I told myself I was doing the right thing. I convinced my heart to stay quiet, but the heart never stays quiet forever. I remember one season clearly. Life looked stable from the outside. Work was steady. Family routines were familiar, yet inside me, something felt off. Not broken, just unsettled. I would wake up in the morning with no clear reason for heaviness. Nothing bad had happened, but peace was missing. I ignored it at first. I told myself it was stress. I told myself everyone feels this way sometimes. I told myself to keep moving. So I did. I started making choices quickly, not dangerously, just carelessly. I said yes when I should have paused. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. I walked forward without asking God if this path was meant for me. I did not stop to pray. I did not wait for clarity. I assumed, and assumptions are quiet mistakes. No alarms, no warnings, just small shifts that lead you away from peace. Slowly the signs appeared. Rest became difficult. Sleep felt shallow. Joy felt distant. I still smiled. I still showed up. But my heart felt tired in a way sleep could not fix. One evening, I sat alone. After everyone else had gone to bed, the house was silent, the lights were low, and for the first time, I asked myself honestly, how did I get here? Not in anger, not in panic, just quiet confusion. That night, I felt a gentle pull inside me. Not a voice, not words, just a sense that I had been walking ahead of God. I had invited Him to bless my direction, but I had not asked him to choose it. That realization did not hurt. It humbled me, because God had not left. I had simply stopped listening. As time passed, my confusion affected my relationships. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just distance. I became quieter, less patient, more inward. People noticed, but no one asked. And I did not explain, because sometimes you do not know how to explain a feeling that has no clear cause. One morning, I stood at the door, ready to leave. I paused. My hand was on the handle. My shoes were on, but my heart felt heavy. I whispered under my breath, "Lord, am I walking the right way?" No answer came, but the question stayed, and that question followed me everywhere. From that moment on, I knew something had to change. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gently, because I could not keep walking without knowing who was guiding my steps. There was one decision I remember clearly, not because it was loud, but because it was quiet. It did not feel wrong at the time. It felt reasonable. It felt necessary. That is how many wrong steps begin. I told myself I was being practical. I told myself I was thinking of others. I told myself there was no better option. But I did not pray first. I did not sit in silence. I did not ask God to slow me down. I simply moved forward. At first, nothing seemed different. Life continued. Days passed. People smiled. But peace did not come with me. I noticed it in small moments, in the way my chest felt tight for no reason, in the way my thoughts would not rest. I began to second-guess myself, not loudly, just in quiet moments, late at night, early in the morning. Those are the hours when truth speaks softly. One evening, someone close to me asked gently, "Are you okay?" I paused. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to keep things simple, but instead I said, "I'm just tired." It was true, but it was not the whole truth. I was tired of walking without clarity, tired of pretending confusion was normal, tired ignoring the gentle pull in my heart. Regret does not always shout, sometimes it whispers. It shows up as restlessness, as quiet disappointment in yourself, as the feeling that something is unfinished. I did not regret trying. I regretted not listening. I realized I had trusted my own understanding more than God's guidance, not out of pride, out of habit, and habits can quietly lead us away from peace. What surprises me now is how patient God remained. He did not punish me. He did not abandon me. He waited, through uneasiness, through confusion, through moments when I finally became still enough to notice him again. Even in my wrong steps, he was protecting in me, limiting damage, softening outcomes, keeping doors from closing too hard. That realization humbled me deeply. One morning, I sat alone again. Same kitchen, same quiet, but this time my heart felt heavier. I bowed my head and whispered, "Lord, I think I walked without you." The words felt honest, not dramatic, just real. And in that honesty, something began to shift. I did not have answers yet. I did not know how to fix everything, but I knew this: I could not continue without surrendering my footsteps back to God. Something was coming, a moment of truth, a turning point I could feel approaching. That morning, I did not rush to stand up. I stayed seated at the kitchen table, hands resting quietly, eyes lowered. For the first time in a long while, I was not trying to fix anything. I was simply present. "Lord," I said softly, "I don't know where I'm going anymore." The words surprised me, not because they were dramatic, but because they were true. I had spent so much time appearing steady that I forgot how unsure I felt inside. I realized something important in that moment. I was not tired of life. I was tired of leading it alone. I had avoided admitting this for a long time. I told myself I just needed rest. or better planning, or more effort. But the truth was quieter. I needed guidance, not advice from people, not reassurance from routines. I needed God to guide my footsteps again. So I whispered, Lord, I give this back to you, not just one problem, not one decision. Everything. Surrender did not feel dramatic. There were no tears, no strong emotions, just relief. Like setting down a heavy bag I did not realize I was still carrying. I stopped replaying past choices. I stopped trying to predict the future. For once, I allowed myself to stay in the present, and in that stillness, peace began to return. Something changed inside me that day. Not suddenly, not loudly, but deeply. I stopped asking God to bless the path I had chosen. Instead, I asked Him to choose the path for me. That difference mattered. It felt like turning around and finally walking beside Him. I made a quiet promise that morning. Before big decisions, I would pause. Before emotional reactions, I would breathe. Before moving forward, I would pray. Not perfectly, not always, but honestly, because walking with God is not about speed, it's about direction. What surprised me most was that clarity did not come right away, and yet, peace did. I still did not know how everything would unfold, but I no longer felt rushed to know. I trusted that when it was time, the next step would become clear. That morning ended quietly. I stood up slowly. I washed my cup. I opened the door. But this time, I did not walk ahead of God. I whispered one last time, Lord, guide my footsteps. And I meant it.